Hi, it's Jamie with UK Extension, and today we're talking about probably the quintessential holiday plant being poinsettias. They are hands down one of the most popular things for the holidays in terms of flowering plants. There are some other things out for sale, but these are universally the ones most people associate with Christmas. They've been with us for a long time. Poinsettias are actually in the euphorbia family, native to Mexico. We've been growing them, cultivating them since the late 1800s, and there are so many varieties now. Every year it seems like there's new varieties. We have a small selection of reds and pink, this white one. Here's another shade of pink that's just coming into color. This one is not full color yet, but there's a lot of different colors on the market. So let's talk about, when you're shopping for a poinsettia for someone, some things you need to be aware of. First thing to be aware of is, well, first let me tell you that the actual flowers are not these bright red petals. These are known as bracts. These are things that support the flower. So the true flowers, and I don't know if we can see this very well or not, the true flowers are these little yellow things in the center. And if we can really zoom in on that, you can see the little pollen stamens sticking out. This plant is already flowering. It is best, you'll get a little longer life if you can select one, say, like this white one, that is still coming on and does not have open flowers yet. This one will last a little bit longer. It's just at an earlier stage than this one is. So that's something that may give you a few weeks. If properly cared for, a flowering poinsettia should look nice for 6 to 8 weeks, well through the holidays. And after that, most people just throw them out. They can be brought back into flower, but growers go to great lengths to manipulate day lengths and things to make these flower at the proper time. So it's a little more than most people are willing to get into. So let's talk about care in the home. Well, back me up a little bit. Let's talk about care before we even get them out of the store. If you take a heat-loving poinsettia outdoors in 20-degree temperatures, you've automatically got a problem. You've compromised that plant just from the chill. So usually, or not usually, it depends on where you buy them. Your poinsettia should be sent home with you in something like this. This is known as a sleeve. There are paper ones, there are plastic ones. This protects the plant for the few minutes you're transporting it from the store to the car or greenhouse or wherever you happen to find them. So the protection from cold, be aware. If you're shopping on a warmer day, probably above 45, that may not be necessary, but that little initial chill can really set the stage for plants failing once you give them as a gift. The other thing to be aware of, if you purchase something and it comes in foil or a pot cover like this, this has no drainage. The pot within naturally has drainage holes, which all plants need. So if you leave this in the sleeve and let that sleeve serve as a saucer, this plant will suffer from the excess moisture around the roots. So these are great, but I would either cut a hole in it, or when you water each day, take the poinsettia to the sink, and it may be each day, it may be every several days depending on your temperature, but take the plant to the sink and then you can put it back in this. A drip or two won't matter, but you don't want it standing in water rotting roots. You got to keep those roots healthy. So these are normally grown in a very lightweight potting soil. Check the soil every day. Put your finger in it. If it is not moist, the plant needs water. The biggest causes of failure or premature bract drop is going to be too much or too little water. Either one is a problem. These plants would naturally grow on the slightly drier side, so they don't like to be too wet, but having them dry out continually, which is very common in home situations, will cause these bracts to drop prematurely, and you'll start losing the lower leaves first. That can be a sign of insufficient watering. So be aware of the watering. Also be aware of the temperature. They want to be in bright, indirect light. No direct sun falling on these, and more importantly, and the bigger issue we run into, is air movement. Don't put them near a cold door that's open frequently. Don't put them near a heat vent or a register or a fireplace or something that's going to cause them to get warmer or drier than typical. It helps. They like things a little cooler at night. If you can move them to a cooler location, or I have a programmable thermostat that automatically lowers the temperature at night, and that would be perfect for it. If you're comfortable, the poinsettias are likely to be comfortable, like the same kind of temperatures. So there's a million of them out there this holiday season. They make wonderful gifts. Select one that you think the recipient will enjoy. Select some for your own home. You can mix and match colors. They come in all different sizes. Growers produce tiny ones up to really, really large ones. I've even seen giant hanging baskets. Poinsettias are the most popular holiday flower. Keep them in mind, try them, and I hope these tips will help you keep yours looking really, really nice through the entire holiday season. Another point I should bring up about poinsettias, a misconception actually. The general public believes poinsettias to be poison, and they're mildly toxic, very mildly toxic, and many of those claims are overstated. People worry about children, people worry about pets. The toxicity is so mild in poinsettias, there are some statistics out there that a 50-pound child would need to eat 500 of these bracts, this being the bract, to have a dose that exceeds doses experimental rats had in laboratories and were perfectly fine with. So yes, if a child were to eat 24 of these, you might have some adverse effects, but it's not going to be fatal by any means. And for your pets, if you have one of those really chewing pets, they're not going to chew on this euphorbia for beginners much, because if it's bruised or damaged in any way, it exudes a leaky latex sap. That's extremely foul tasting to any animal, child, or anyone else. There's not a lot of incentive for someone to want to eat a ton of poinsettias. So keep in mind, if your pets should consume some, if you have a puppy or your cats like to chew, know that the worst effect is likely to be that you'll be cleaning up some carpet, because it's likely to lead to drooling, possibly vomiting, and in some severe cases maybe even some diarrhea. But your pet is not going to die from having a poinsettia in the home. Quite frankly, I don't want to have to go buy a new poinsettia, so just keep your poinsettia out of pets' reach. You don't want a half chewed up poinsettia for your guests to see either. So the toxicity is largely overstated. It's misunderstood. Poinsettias are still great plants. Just a perfect solution for your holiday choice. Just keep them out of the reach of little ones.